Welcome to Everybody Studios. This is Everybody in Charlotte, a series of 15-minute conversations highlighting the people of Charlotte making a difference. Sydney Payne, welcome to Everybody Studios.
Thanks for having me today.
You're very welcome. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
I've been on one podcast.
One podcast?
Yes.
Awesome. Was that local or somewhere on the other side of the world?
It was on the other side of the world. Well, I guess it was in the Virgin Islands, so not too far.
South.
You don't need a passport to get there, so it was great.
Virgin Gorda.
Virgin Gorda.
It's like my favorite place in the world.
It's amazing. And I just went to, there's only two places in the world with the baths, Virgin Gorda and then the Seychelles. And I just went there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that was
Seychelles,
beautiful.
That's western part of Africa, right?
East Africa.
East, oh,
yes.
Okay. Got it.
So beautiful, so insane, great opportunity to go. I didn't even imagine being able to go in my life over there. But
Seychelles. I always hear about it. My wife's been there.
Beautiful place, but such far travel.
Yeah.
After traveling, I'm like, I literally traveled around the world and back in a matter of 6 weeks, I believe.
Did you really go
I really went.
Full
I
around?
Went for it.
You didn't go here and then back. You went all the way.
All the way.
That's insane.
Yes.
That's kind of Yeah. I'm gonna add that to the list. Go all the way around.
It was cool, except the time where you're trying to figure out, okay, how many movies can I watch on an 18-and-a-half-hour flight, a 12-hour flight, a 10-hour flight? It's difficult.
Those are brutal. All right, so I typically will ask my guests how we know each other, and I think we just got to know each other.
We really did just got to know each other.
That's how we know each other. I was looking at social media, and our one connection is Amy Applegate.
Okay. Yes.
That's kind of a bizarre connection because I found her through her massage services, and she's the one that works on my back.
That's amazing. And I met her through one of the guys who I grew up with in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
And she now is together with one of our mutual friends.
Oh, cool.
And she's a great massage therapist.
Yes, she is.
And I think she knows the body, and I love that she adds cupping into her massages. Have you gotten the cupping yet?
I've not gotten the cupping. I've never done cupping before.
It's amazing.
I've got a weird little phobia around it.
What's the phobia?
I don't know. The bruising. I don't know.
The bruising? It's really
get over it, right?
Yeah, get over it. It's really just allowing more blood circulation in the body. So when the cupping happens, it's signaling the body, hey, I'm injured, so I'm going to send more blood and more healing to those certain areas. And sometimes I'll wake up with a knot in my neck, when you get the crick in your neck, pop a cup on that thing for 8 minutes, and you are like, okay, I feel good. I just need to hydrate.
Okay, good to know. I have a crick in my neck lots and lots of days of the week.
You need to buy the $30 cupping set on Amazon and get your wife to just pop one on you.
And just
exactly.
All right. I mean, I'm in. All right, good to know that because I always have a damn crick in my neck. All right, first question.
Yes.
What comes to mind when I say the hardest you've ever laughed?
Oh, gosh. The hardest I've ever laughed is probably with my best friend, Annalise. We grew up in Charlotte together. She now lives in Hawaii. And when we lived in Hawaii together, we bought wigs online.
You bought wigs? Got
wigs online, and we would wear them to go shop and do our shopping at Costco.
Just for the fun.
And we would talk in different accents. We love the Russian accent.
Oh, God.
And we would go
Svetlana.
we would go prank people in Costco. So just having the good childhood fun of not feeling like we have to be so serious as adults.
That's
But
beautiful.
That's the first thing that comes to mind.
That was perfect.
So good.
Perfect. So often guests will mention their best friend.
Yes.
And that's the best because that's the hardest. Every time, actually, I'll tell a quick one. I was going to the beach like a week ago, and I recorded right before I went, and somebody talked about their best friend, and I was driving to the beach, and I was like thinking about the episode that I had just recorded, And I was thinking about my best friend, and I was like, God, it's so funny. Every time I talk to him, I laugh the hardest. I laugh as hard as I can. It was Father's Day, and I was like, I'm going to call him. So I give him a call. Within 7 minutes, we are coughing. We're laughing so hard just on the phone. He's in Jersey. It's just perfect. It's like without fail, we laugh as hard as we can every time we're together.
And I think that's just being able to feel comfortable enough to go there and get in that space of silliness where you're not going to feel judged on what you have to say or what you're thinking, and you can just
go
be.
Just
and I love that feeling.
It's the best.
It's like the
and it doesn't take much
No,
either.
It's the
like
best joy that you can find. So I love that. I love to laugh.
I do too. What would you consider to be your superpower?
My superpower, I think, is just going for it. And I am in this point of reflection in my life of being able to just be so grateful for all the opportunities that I have had just within the past 3 years of being able to travel and really see the world and dive deeper into myself. And I just don't hesitate with things. And sometimes that can get me in trouble with being impulsive with my decision making. Sure. But at the same time, I think without hesitation, I am just going to do it because why not? Obviously, with the good things in mind, doing it for the greater good of myself and other people. But not hesitating, just really believing that whatever happens is going to happen and I'll be okay at the end of it.
Oh man, that's a good way to go through life. I have a 13-year-old daughter who's the opposite of that. Very hesitant. I wouldn't say fearful, but careful. And I'm not that way. I'm a jump-in person as well. I'm not sure I always did it for the right reasons, but I was always a yes guy, no matter what was offered. But I love the physical, the adrenaline rushes, I do it all. I love it all.
Yes.
It's a fun way to go through life for sure, as long as you're somewhat careful.
I think it's, for me, if you looked at a job role as an opportunity and you look at the qualifications part of the job or the opportunity, I kind of just graze that. And I'm like, you know what?
I can do it.
I think I can do it.
Or I'm going to give it a shot.
Or I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, then okay, I tried. You know?
Exactly
so
right.
I think that's a good way to live life. But I also respect people who hesitate and take their time to analyze and really make grounding stability decisions, which is nice. And I'm transitioning more into that mindset, but grateful for that.
Yeah. It's a healthy balance. Yeah. And what was Gretzky's quote? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
Or you don't make 100% of the shots you don't take. All right, so let's move more into kind of the Charlotte area. Now, I do know that you just moved back. When's the last time you spent, an extended amount of time here?
Oh, gosh, right before, I'd say, honestly, since high school.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
I guess extended in how long would be extended?
Oh, well, yeah, not more than like a holiday. Yeah.
Okay, then, so I grew up, born and raised in Charlotte, just off of Carmel Road. Loved growing up here. We have so much nature to just be a part of, and growing city and so many different opportunities here. Felt like when I went to Wilmington for college.
UNCW?
I did.
Nice.
Yes, I'm a Seahawk, and that is really what clicked my love for the ocean and really wanting to be coastal, feeling that simplicity of life and ease, especially by the water. There's a great book called A Blue Mind, which is really amazing, and all the psychology behind being by the ocean.
Yeah.
And then after college, I went and I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was in finance. And then, now I stand corrected because I came back to Charlotte during that same career. I was in fintech. And I worked.
Sounds very exciting.
It was so exciting. Thankful for it because it made me decide that I wanted to live somewhere else.
You didn't want to do it.
Exactly. So I was working in banking around the Charlotte area, and actually the whole state of North Carolina was my territory. And then I realized that it wasn't for me. Moved to the Virgin Islands, moved to Hawaii, moved back to the Virgin Islands, and now feel like I got that really deep travel itch out of the system, and I feel really grounded in Charlotte now. Lots of lessons in it all.
I love it. I love it. Well, my question was going to be around, and maybe you can share something from your upbringing and childhood up to high school. But the question I typically ask people around here is, what can you share that would be a hidden gem in Charlotte?
Oh.
Yeah, because this is a local podcast, and I want our listeners to, open their minds to things that they may not know about. And it can be anything. It could be a restaurant. It can be a park bench. It could be a person.
I think what I would share as the hidden gems of Charlotte would be, I have a couple.
Lay them on me.
Okay. So I love the greenways.
Yes.
And especially with
now. God.
Yeah, with I just went on a 13-mile bike ride and didn't feel like I was going to get hit by a car because I'm on the greenway.
Yeah.
And I think now they're really weaving it into all areas in Charlotte, which is incredible. So you can run and bike and really just have that time in nature without the stress of feeling like, oh, I'm too stimulated by everything else going on.
Yeah.
And just mindlessly be. And then another thing that I just have so much gratitude for now being back is the amount of community we have around fitness and in health in Charlotte. There's so many run clubs. There's so many different modalities of healing, massage. I work in wellness now at iCryo, and having just like all these, cold exposure, hot exposure, vitamin drips, IVs. We have so many resources at our fingertips to optimize our own health, but also advocate for that.
Yeah.
And then be surrounded by people who want the same thing. And you can really get that in every gym you step into. It's a mini community, and it's just a matter of trying all those fun things out.
Yeah.
And if anyone is interested, one special thing in Charlotte, it's called SweatNet. Have you heard of SweatNet before?
I don't think so.
SweatNet is a really cool community. It started in Charlotte, and you can be a member and you can go to all these fun events that involve fitness. So you pay a membership and you have access to, if you're just curious and not wanting to join one gym at a time, you can drop into all these events.
Interesting.
And it's social.
Very cool.
So that's super cool.
Yeah. Is that all around and it started here? Or is it just here?
They franchised it, and
okay.
so the first one, the founding SweatNet, is in Charlotte.
Fascinating. All right.
So that would be a secret gem too.
That's a great gem. When we post this episode, I'm going to put all these links in the body of it. So that's a great segue. When you mentioned iCryo, because you mentioned that's where you're working currently. But a great segue into my next question, which is, where in your life are you making a difference in the lives of others?
Oh, I think there's so many ways to really answer that question. Right now, I am in online school to be a health coach. I think the more information that we know, especially in areas that we're passionate about, with which mine really deals with overall health, knowing and sharing that our mind, our body, and our spirit is all interconnected. And that is what makes up our entire health. If one thing in our mental is affected, then it may cause a chain reaction to having an ailment in our body.
Yeah.
And that's super important, especially as we look at health, not only from the traditional way of just like eat right and work out. It's encompassing all that we are as one individual, and diving deeper within ourselves to really figure out our habits, our karmic knots is what I like to say.
Karmic knots?
Karmic knots.
Knots, like the knots in
Like
your
a
system
knot.
to get out? Yep.
Energetic things that stop us from being the best that we are.
Yeah.
And I could go on a million different
I
rants
know.
with that, but we'll keep it simple. I'm in health coaching school right now. Also, I am working at iCryo, which is a great place for anything to optimize your health. Infrared sauna, red light therapy, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Cryotherapy. It gets super cold, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately all of the modalities and the opportunities that we have in our wellness center really forces you to be present with where you're at in your health.
Yeah.
That's important to me. And then lastly, I'm teaching yoga at Studio Fire. It's
Okay.
an infrared studio. So
Oh.
you get that like heat, but I know if you've been to other studios, it's like suffocating.
It's the
You
skin heat.
The skin heat.
The infrared's more.
So the infrared's deep and detoxifying,
Right.
like in the deep core, which I love because you can really feel your body start to open up and get into all these fun different yoga postures and poses, but feel strong in them without feeling like you're about to have a heart attack
Yep.
in the lack of oxygen heat. But
Right.
I think my role, especially in Charlotte, is really to just step up as a health leader
Mm-hmm.
and share movement, especially in yoga, as a practice to have more awareness and presence in your life, which is encouraging to me because it's a good reminder for me too.
Yeah, of course. Of course. What was the yoga studio called? Studio Fire? Where is that?
It's right next to Paco's Tacos
In South Park?
in South Park.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. And then what do you think comes first, cryo or ice bath?
As in level of difficulty or health benefit wise?
Both.
I think that any type of stress that you're putting on your body, you have the heat from the sauna. It's good cortisol. I think we sometimes can have a negative thought process around cortisol and stress.
Mm-hmm.
We have to put our body in good stressful situations, whether it's
Keep it
working
alive.
out, keep it alive, remind yourself, hey, I'm still working, I'm kicking here.
Mm-hmm.
I think cold exposure wise, ice baths make you so resilient.
I do them, so I know.
Whereas
I'm full agreement.
that is more mental than
It's so
being
brutal.
able to get in a cryo chamber, which the one that we have is full body. So you're getting the cold exposure on your vagus nerve, which your
Okay.
vagus nerve controls your central nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because we're human, majority of the time we're living in that sympathetic nervous system where we're all stressed out. We're in this frenzy. We can't really get a grip in our life, and we're in that fight or flight all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we really want to live, and all the health things that we work on doing is trying to get us into that parasympathetic rest and digest. The mind slows, the body calms down. You can go to the bathroom fully. You can really just feel peaceful, which that's what we want in our life.
Yes,
and I
it
think
is. But you've got to put yourself intentionally in the other
Exactly.
to get to the
yes.
Right.
And I think with the cold exposure, people have more, I want to say they're more willing to go into that cryo chamber box for 3.5 minutes and have they're dry. You're not getting wet.
Oh, it's dry.
It's dry.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Rather than like, okay, now I have to go through all these mental barriers of I have to put a bathing suit on. I've got to open the lid and feel the cold, like right off the top of the cold plunge.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun to do with a bunch of friends, though.
Oh yeah. I
secret-
have a group of guys that do it.
A secret fun trip, if I know you have a cold plunge around or near you.
I actually use my bathtub and fill it
Okay,
up
you
with
use
ice.
your bathtub. If you want a fun adventure, though, go to Asheville.
I know it. The sauna house.
The sauna house.
Yes.
I love that place, and you can actually rent a private session
With a
and
group,
have like
yeah.
6 people go with you, and you have the sauna, you have the ice plunge, which is like the coldest ice plunge I've ever been in,
Really?
and you have the red light therapy. So you
Okay.
can do
I've
kind
never
of
done
just
it. I've
like,
heard a lot about it, though.
yes, you can do little
Yeah,
sections, rounds, and you feel so just so good in the body. It's you feel the euphoria
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
it all.
The ice bath, I mean, the listeners of this podcast probably such a broken record because I do ice baths a lot. I love ice baths. I talk about them all the time, and people often are like, well, what are the benefits? I mean, I don't know. Is it inflammation? And I'm like, dude, it is all here. Like for me, yes, I understand that there are physical benefits, but I benefit by going through the severe torment of not wanting to go do it. Like you said, all the barriers, like the bathing suit, the filling up the water so slowly,
Oh,
the dumping of 8 bags in there,
right.
knowing it's gonna suck, and just having just so much. And then when you do it, you beat that.
You
know,
do.
you beat all of those voices telling you not to do this and that you'd rather stay comfortable. And then you get out, and it lasts for me sometimes 2 days. 2 or 3 days, I can walk around and nothing can faze me. I'm like, I did that.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's fun because it's just, well, it's fun for us because we know the benefit of it. But the benefits of cold exposure would be you are boosting the serotonin and dopamine, which is that happiness effect. You're burning probably like 500 calories when you get in there. You are building that mental resilience, which when you have experiences like that, it gives you more confidence of showing up in the best self that you can. It forces you to be present because there's nowhere to escape except being right in that scenario.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, then you have a
Teaches
lot
you how to
of
breathe too.
exactly, which a lot of us don't breathe correctly.
Yep.
So, and there's a million, you can tighten your skin, all these different things. There's so many different things that cold exposure has to give, and not to mention your sleep quality.
Yeah.
Definitely helps so much with your quality of sleep when you're putting your body through that fun.
How often do you do it?
I do it every day.
Do you? Cryo or
Cryo. Ice baths, obviously hard to really get that regulated water temperature, and then you associate the cost of the ice, the time. When I have access at my work, just to get in 3.5 minutes, get that, it's negative 175 degrees in the cryo chamber, so you're getting that cold exposure, and then you walk out and you just feel great and you can go on with your day.
All right, I've never done the cryo.
You'll have to come in and try it.
I will. I've been told many times that I need to, and I always just do the bath. What do you see as the work you're doing, the inspiration, the motivation, the education around people finding that presence, finding that desire to be better, to feel better? What do you see that? How do you see that as a benefit as it trickles out into the community?
What I see and what I notice is that the more you can feel comfortable in your own skin and be as present as you can with others, that the healing always happens in the present moment. It's not going to happen in the past. It's not going to happen in the future. And I think the more we share these different ways that we are finding that inner peace within us and removing the blockages or the thoughts that get in the way of just us showing up for not only ourselves, but our family, our relationships, other people in the community, the more that we can share just how we live our life with other people, the more seeds are planted for them to notice, wow, like I have a choice in the way that I'm living my life or the way that I think, or especially in yoga, in everything, you can come back to the breath. And knowing when the mind is going crazy, the breath can bring you back to this state of like, wow, okay, you're safe in this moment. You can be present. And when you're present, there's nothing there but the present moment. And when we can have these interactions with people, it really, the community aspect is like, you're not alone and I'm no better than you. And what you have been going through, I can resonate with because we're all in this together mentality. And I think especially just with the younger generations, and I sort of fall at, I guess, the end of that category because I feel like I'm aging every day. But
Just keep doing cryo.
in a good way, I know. But I feel like that's so necessary to share, especially like post-COVID where we don't have as much social interaction and we have to almost like find our way back to gaining community and having these interactions, or even just like shaking someone's hand, giving someone a smile. Looking at someone in the eyes. Those moments, just knowing that we can have these simple interactions that can just impact someone's day, of looking at someone in the eyes and them feeling seen, that could be enough.
Yeah.
And I think being able to share what we're learning and diving into, and honestly just being vulnerable in the path that we're on and what we've experienced, the more people share and can be vulnerable, the more healing can happen in our community. And because of that, I think there's more opportunities to share more because people feel like, oh, I have that responsibility now. Because I've been through this and I got through it, I have to share my story because someone else may need to hear it. Yeah. And it's selfish of me to not share it.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. And you don't want that experience to go to waste. Yeah. I think a lot about that with my recovery. You know, a lot of people need to hear it. Great answer there. That was fun listening to you there. You know, I think a lot about the community aspect of it, and when you look at kind of the back end of COVID and the pandemic, and there is a boost or a boost in the wellness kind of industry, and even the alcohol-free industry, which is included in that umbrella, and a lot of people are becoming more self-aware and conscious of how they feel. And I think the result of that is it was the opposite for so long. You know, there's a silver lining in this pandemic. You know, I'm sorry for all the stuff that happened as a result, but it was almost like a breaking point because, I mean, I can't tell you how many years, for a decade, we used to say, man, there's a revolution coming. You know, we just have our mentality is not going in the right direction. There's too much clickbait. There's too much negativity. There's too much us being drawn to the stuff that's bad for us. And so how's it gonna correct itself? And then a pandemic happens, and a lot of people were going kind of like this, and then they went, and now they're kind of all coming back this way. And it's really fascinating to watch. And it's, you know, parlaying this from your answer to how does this ripple out into the community, that's what's happening. Now there's all these people that are making this extra effort, and other people are watching and going, oh, man, maybe that's the path.
I think that this is such a great time to be alive and experience this, because especially just in I'm so hyper-focused on the health and wellness space, but really just learning to trust your own intuition. And with putting yourself in, you know, these fun situations, whether it's running or getting into exercise or just sitting with yourself with silence. What's your mind telling you? Like, what do you think about it? How does your body feel? And when you have these answers, like, that's where you can be the advocate for yourself and your own path, rather than these collective voices with,
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, we were talking about like advertisement dollars of,
Mm-hmm.
of course, the companies who are paying to advertise, they're going to think that you need this product in your
Right.
life or you need to drink to feel like you can socialize. It's like, well, what do you think
Listen to
about
your,
that?
yeah.
Listen to your own intuition, and
Right.
how do you navigate through all this information that we have today to find the right answers that are going to work best for you?
Yeah.
And it's nice to almost like have this explosion of a challenge with the pandemic of like, okay, well, deep down, you have to figure out what you think about how you want to live your life in the best way moving forward from what we just went through all together.
Right.
And yeah, it's just very fascinating.
It is, because then, like we mentioned before, and we're gonna have to cut this, or cut this shorter. But how do you get people to want that? How do you get people to listen to themselves? Often it's what we don't want to hear.
I
In
know.
fact, it's almost always what we don't want to hear.
Right.
Right? It's anytime you need to dig down and listen to what's going on in there, it's usually telling you what you don't want to hear.
And I think that that's something to deeply reflect on, because you can sit with yourself and until you finally are like, okay, I'm ready to make that change.
Yeah.
Then,
Okay, I want to hear it now.
okay.
That's right. All right. We could do this for an hour.
I know. I could keep rambling on.
Oh, no, it's fine. All right, so let's wrap it. So let's do, how do the listeners, all the millions of listeners to this podcast, how do we support you? How do we support your mission?
That's a great question. I'm still figuring that out myself.
Well, we can figure it out together. We can keep it very basic.
Yes.
Go to Studio Fire.
Yes.
Go to iCryo.
Come to Studio Fire. Take a class with me.
There you go.
I think my favorite format of class that I'm teaching right now, I'm subbing right now, but mid-August I'll have a full schedule available for people to come find me. Well Flow. It's such a great class to come to if you're a beginner at yoga or if you are an advanced yogi practitioner, as we will say. But you go through a series of the same movements, so it's repetitive. Then you do a portion of high intensity interval training in it as well. And then you hold a balance posture. And then you do that again 3 rounds. And so the moves are familiar, you're moving quickly, you're getting a workout, but we have that conscious effort of matching the breath to the movement. And then at the end, you get to lay in Shavasana, which is the hardest thing to do, be with yourself. And then we wrap it up. So that's really fun. iCryo, obviously everyone should and can find 3.5 minutes in their day to come and freeze. It's
come and freeze your ass.
Exactly. Come and freeze your ass off with me. I will watch you do it after I've done mine, and it's such a fun event to come do.
Okay.
So there's I work in between 2 locations. We have one right in South Park near where that Steak 48 is. That's the first location. And then the second one is out near Blakeney.
Gotcha.
Right in that new, I can't remember the shopping center, but it has Target, Marshalls, Old Navy, that area over there.
Okay.
So come support me in that way.
Okay. And we will list all these things in the body of the description. We'll even list SweatNet.
Yes.
Right?
That's fun.
All right. So leave me with one person that you nominate to sit there that I can interview.
Ooh, I'm going to go with Hannah Gorman, who is the owner and the founder of Studio Fire.
Ooh, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Hannah Gorman, you've been called.
Yes.
Perfect. And lastly, leave us with 3 words to remember you by.
radiate, ignite, and send it.
I love it. Send it.
Send it.
Awesome. Sydney Payne, thank you for coming to Everybody's Studios and being a part of Everybody in Charlotte.
Thank you for having me.
Of
It's
course.
been a pleasure. I am Sydney Payne, and I am everybody. Thank you.